The Lizzie Borden House, a name whispered in hushed tones, a place where history bleeds into horror. Located in Fall River, Massachusetts, it stands as a chilling reminder of a brutal double murder. The victims, Andrew and Abby Borden, brutally slain. The suspect, their own daughter, Lizzie. Now it whispers with the secrets of a dark past. For over a century, it has drawn curious visitors and paranormal investigators. The Lizzie Borden House stands as a testament to the enduring power of fear and fascination. The story of the Borden murders is a tangled web of family secrets, simmering resentments and shocking violence. Andrew Borden, a wealthy but miserly businessman, ruled his household with an iron fist. His second wife, Abby, endured a strained relationship with her stepdaughters, Lizzie and Emma. The atmosphere in the Borden home was heavy with unspoken tensions, a powder keg waiting for a spark. On the morning of August 4th, 1892, that spark ignited. Andrew and Abby Borden were found brutally murdered in their home. Andrew struck down with a hatchet while napping on the parlour sofa. Abby bludgeoned to death in the upstairs guest bedroom. The brutality of the murders, the close proximity of the victims to their killer, and the lack of forced entry pointed to someone familiar with the household, someone harbouring a deep-seated rage. Suspicion immediately fell upon Lizzie, the unmarried daughter who remained at home. Her behaviour in the aftermath of the murders, her changing alibis, and her seemingly cold demeanour raised red flags for investigators. Lizzie was arrested and charged with the murders of her father and stepmother. The trial that followed became a media sensation, captivating the nation with its lurid details and shocking accusations. Lizzie, portrayed as a demure spinster by her defence, became a symbol of Victorian repression and the dark potential that lurked beneath the surface of polite society. The prosecution, however, painted her as a cold-hearted killer, driven to murder by greed and resentment. Andrew Borden was a man of contradictions. A successful businessman who had amassed a considerable fortune, he was also known for his frugality. He lived in a modest home, eschewing the trappings of wealth. His penny-pinching ways extended to his family. Andrew's frugality stemmed from a deeper fear, a fear of losing everything he had worked so hard to build. This fear manifested in his tight control over his household. He demanded obedience and respect, brooking no dissent. The Borden home was a prison of sorts, its inhabitants bound by Andrew's rigid rules. The arrival of Abby Durfee Gray into the Borden household did little to alleviate the existing tensions. In fact, it exacerbated them. Abby, a woman of modest means, was 36 when she married Andrew, a widower 20 years her senior. Whispers of gold digging followed Abby, whispers that Andrew's daughters Lizzie and Emma did little to discourage. Lizzie and Emma viewed Abby as an interloper. Her attempts to assert herself as the mistress of the house met with icy silence. The sisters, united in their dislike of their stepmother, formed a tight bond. Abby found herself in an unenviable position. The dynamics within the Borden household were a recipe for disaster. As if the existing tensions within the Borden household weren't enough, a new and unsettling element was introduced into the already volatile mix. A young man claiming to be Andrew Borden's illegitimate son surfaced, demanding recognition and his rightful inheritance. This revelation, if true, threatened to upend the already precarious balance of power within the family. The young man, identified as William, bore a striking resemblance to Andrew, lending credence to his claim. He was described as being troubled, prone to erratic behaviour, perhaps driven to desperation by his circumstances. His sudden appearance, his insistence on his birthright, cast a long shadow over the Borden family, adding another layer of complexity to their already tangled relationships. Abby, understandably, was outraged by this revelation. The possibility that her husband had fathered a child out of wedlock, a child who now threatened to lay claim to a portion of his estate, was a blow to her pride and her sense of security. The sisters, too, were undoubtedly affected by this news, their resentment towards their father likely amplified by this evidence of his past indiscretions. Andrew's reaction to William's claims is shrouded in mystery. Some accounts suggest that he rebuffed the young man, refusing to acknowledge him as his son. Others hint that he might have made attempts to buy William's silence, to make him disappear quietly. Whatever the truth, William's presence, however fleeting, had a profound impact on the Borden family, planting seeds of doubt, suspicion and fear that would ultimately bear bitter fruit. The summer of 1892 was a sweltering one in Fall River, Massachusetts. The air hung heavy and humid, pressing down on the city like a suffocating blanket. Inside the Borden house, the oppressive heat served only to amplify the already tense atmosphere. Andrew's illegitimate son William had come and gone, leaving behind a trail of unease and resentment. Lizzie and Emma, united in their animosity towards their stepmother, watched Abby's every move with suspicion. Despite the stifling heat, Andrew refused to allow the windows to be opened fully. The sisters found themselves increasingly resentful of their father's penny-pinching ways. Adding to the unease, the Borden household was plagued by unsettling incidents. Footsteps echoed in the dead of night. These occurrences heightened the sense of dread that pervaded the house. Andrew remained oblivious to the storm brewing beneath his own roof. The heat wave showed no signs of abating. It was as if the sun itself had turned against the Borden family, punishing them for their sins. The days stretched long and oppressive, the nights offering little respite from the stifling humidity. Tempers flared easily in the close confines of the house. Even the simplest conversation could devolve into a bitter argument. One particularly sweltering afternoon, Lizzie and Abby had a heated exchange over a matter as trivial as a misplaced hand towel. Lizzie, her patience worn thin by the heat and her simmering resentment, lashed out at her stepmother, accusing her of deliberately trying to antagonize her. Abby, feeling both hurt and unjustly accused, retorted with uncharacteristic sharpness, her words laced with years of pent-up frustration. The argument escalated quickly, their voices echoing through the house, each word dripping with venom. Andrew, who had been napping in his study, was awakened by the commotion. He stormed into the hallway, his face contorted with rage. He demanded to know what was going on, his voice booming like thunder. Lizzie and Abby, startled by Andrew's sudden appearance, fell silent. They stood there for a moment, their chests heaving, their faces flushed with anger. The air crackled with tension, the silence broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Finally, Andrew, disgusted by what he perceived as his family's inability to behave with even a modicum of decorum, turned on his heel and retreated to his study, slamming the door shut behind him. A murderous morning. The morning of August 4th, 1892, dawned like any other in Fall River. But inside the Borden house, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. The previous day's argument had left its mark, the tension palpable. Andrew Borden rose early, as was his custom. Abby Borden, still feeling the sting of the previous day's argument, went about her morning chores with a heavy heart. Unbeknownst to Abby, however, she was not alone. The silence before the storm. The air in the Borden house was thick with a suffocating stillness. Abby Borden, her back to the door, continued to straighten the guest bedroom, oblivious to the danger lurking just beyond the threshold. Downstairs, Lizzie Borden was alone. Lizzie wandered from room to room, her footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. The hatchet falls. Abby Borden, startled by a noise behind her, turned just in time to see a figure silhouetted in the doorway. Before she could cry out, the figure lunged at her, a blur of motion and fury. Blow after blow rained down upon her, each one delivered with a ferocity that defied explanation. Downstairs, Lizzie Borden heard a muffled thud, followed by a series of heavy thumps. A gruesome discovery. Andrew Borden, feeling unwell from the heat, arrived home earlier than usual. He entered the house, calling out for Abby, but there was no answer. As he settled onto the cushions, he noticed a strange, coppery scent in the air. Sometime later, Lizzie called out for Bridget, her voice trembling with feigned alarm. Supposedly, Lizzie found her father, Andrew, dead on the couch, his head and face bludgeoned by multiple hatchet blows. Lizzie told Maggie that father was hurt and sent her to fetch the doctor and a neighbour. The aftermath. The news of the double murder spread through Fall River like wildfire. Neighbours gathered in the street outside the Borden house, their faces pale with shock and disbelief. Lizzie Borden, her demeanour remarkably calm, recounted the events leading up to her discovery of the bodies. The police noted Lizzie's calm demeanour, her lack of tears, and the sheer brutality of the killings. The trial of Lizzie Borden was a media spectacle, the likes of which Fall River, Massachusetts had never seen. Reporters from across the country descended upon the small town, eager to cover every detail of the sensational case. Lizzie, dressed in sombre black, sat ramrod straight at the defence table, her face a mask of composure. Her lawyer, George Robinson, portrayed her as a victim, a dutiful daughter unjustly accused of a horrific crime. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Hosea Knowlton, painted Lizzie as a cold, calculating killer. Lizzie's defence team chipped away at the prosecution's case, highlighting inconsistencies and raising doubts about the validity of the evidence. They argued that the lack of bloodstains on Lizzie's clothing and person was significant, given the brutal nature of the murders. The defence also called witnesses who testified to Lizzie's good character and her loving relationship with her father. After days of deliberation, the jury returned with their decision. On all counts, they found Lizzie Borden not guilty. The acquittal of Lizzie Borden did little to quell the unease that had settled upon Fall River. The Borden House, once a symbol of prosperity and respectability, now stood as a grim reminder of the unsolved murders that had taken place within its walls. It wasn't long before stories began to circulate about strange and unsettling occurrences at the Borden House. Neighbours reported seeing flickering lights in the windows late at night, long after the house had supposedly been abandoned. Others claimed to hear footsteps echoing from within, heavy and deliberate. As the years turned into decades, the stories of the hauntings at the Borden House persisted. The house changed hands several times, each new owner drawn in by its macabre history, only to be driven out by the unsettling events that unfolded within its walls. In 1948, the Borden House was purchased by the McGinn family. They renovated the house, restoring it to its former glory, and opened it to the public as a bed and breakfast. The Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast quickly gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in America. Many guests reported experiencing strange and unsettling phenomena during their stay at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Some felt a cold hand on their shoulder as they slept, a touch that vanished as quickly as it came. Others heard whispers in the dead of night, disembodied voices murmuring their secrets to the darkness. Objects moved seemingly of their own accord, doors creaked open and slammed shut. One of the most commonly reported apparitions was that of Abby Borden herself. But it wasn't just Abby who lingered within the walls of the Borden house. Lizzie's presence was also felt, though it was more subtle, more ethereal than that of her stepmother. Guests staying in the room next to Lizzie's often reported hearing the sound of a woman crying softly. Others claimed to feel a cold spot in the hallway outside Lizzie's room. The Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast stands today as a testament to the enduring power of the past. The Borden murders, a gruesome chapter in American history, continue to fascinate and horrify us over a century later. The case, with its unsettling blend of family drama, brutal violence and lingering mystery, has become a fixture in popular culture. The story of Lizzie Borden has transcended the boundaries of time and place, becoming an enduring symbol of the dark side of human nature. The enduring fascination with the Borden case stems in part from its unresolved nature. Lizzie Borden was acquitted of the murders, but the question of her guilt or innocence remains a subject of debate to this day. The Lizzie Borden House, a silent witness to the gruesome events of that fateful August day, stands as a macabre monument to the enduring power of the past. The house, with its creaking floorboards and flickering gaslights, has become a pilgrimage site for those drawn to the dark side of history. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, there is an undeniable aura of sadness and unease that pervades the house. The air is thick with the weight of unspoken words and secrets buried deep within the walls. It is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, where the echoes of violence linger. The Lizzie Borden House serves as a stark reminder that some wounds never truly heal. It's a place where the line between the living and the dead seems to blur. It continues to fascinate and horrify us, a testament to the enduring allure of the unknown.